I was born here in Rogers, it's the old St. Mary's Hospital. Lived here basically my whole life, except for there was about roughly 4-year period where we moved to Joplin. My dad had taken a job over there, but we came back in '87 and then have lived there ever since. Went to school at St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church. That's where I went to elementary school. And then after that, went to Rogers Public Schools, went to Elmwood, and then graduated from Rogers High School in 1999. Played football there. And then after that, after graduating high school, I went to NWAC, got my associate's degree in criminal justice, and then went to the U of A, got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and then became a police officer in 2004. Worked for the city of Rogers. And then a year after that is when I enlisted in the Marine Corps. It was a time when I felt like I wanted to do more. There was a lot going on in the Middle East, and I wouldn't necessarily say it was specifically 9/11. If it was 9/11, I would have dropped out of college and gone, but I don't know. I just felt like I was in a place in my life where, from a physical fitness standpoint and I guess maturity level, where I thought I could go in, and my goal in enlisting was to fight in the war. Not that I don't appreciate what other service members do that's not directly in the war effort. You know, we need those folks, but I wanted to be on the front line, and that's why I knew if I picked an infantry MOS, I would much sooner than later end up over there. So, shipped off in May of 2005 and went to boot camp over in San Diego, at MCRD. After that, graduated, must have been August, and then went to infantry school like 10 days later and graduated from there in November. Yes, I was 20, I want to say 24 at that time, 23 or 24. So I was definitely the old man for sure, because everyone else was like 18 or 19 at the most. So yeah, they kind of came to me for that fatherly guidance, you might say, even though I wasn't a father. Or April 2006, we'd gotten word that our unit was going to be attaching with a unit in Detroit as part of a large battalion buildup in order to go to Iraq. We weren't quite sure where we were going to be in Iraq at that point, but we found out in June that we were going to be in Fallujah. I became a machine gunner, is what I had signed on my enlistment papers. So I went through, like, the first 4 weeks of infantry school is just sort of broad infantry skills, like you learn how to move, handle a gun, things like that, and then you break off for the last 8 weeks into your different MOS. So you got like mortarmen, or so it was all units in the 24th Marines. So our unit was 324. I was in my unit was based out of Springfield, Missouri. It was a heavy, what they call a heavy weapons platoon. So our unit was specifically for like large equipment operators, so like mortarmen, machine gunners, things like that. We didn't have any simple infantrymen. So we hooked up with 124 in Detroit, and then I think there was some other units. It was like a hodgepodge, and our battalion ended up being like over 1,100 Marines after they put us all together. Cutting edge training stuff like called Mojave Viper or whatever, where you're in a simulated city, Iraqi city, and you actually have people playing Iraqi civilians and things like that. Very real world scenario stuff. You know, they taught us Farsi language, you know, basic language that we could use when we're just sort of needing to give commands or whatever, and then like how to handle people. We learned the customs, the culture, and so that our interactions with folks could be a lot smoother. And then the training in the simulated cities was live. I mean, it was live explosions and stuff to really prepare your mind for what you were going to see. It was hot still. It was definitely still pretty crowded. So it was, when we went over there, it was less than 2 years after they'd cleared the city. I'm sure you heard about all that in 2004. So the people had come back. There was, there was an economy and things like that, but still a lot of property damage every day. And I had to ask somebody about that. I said, why was it so quiet those first 2 weeks? And they informed me that they were watching us. They were there, but we didn't know it. They were watching how we respond to things because they knew we were a new unit. Our platoon commander was very well liked. His name was Lieutenant Sonny Lee. He was from New York City. Great guy, really great leader. He had the pulse with everybody. Like anybody could come up to him and talk to him, and he wasn't standoffish at all. And we'd do anything for him. And we had a gunnery sergeant named Eugene Coles. Again, a great guy. He tried to keep it very light for us because he knew it was a serious situation. I was only there about 4 weeks. Got shot at nearly every day. So I got injured by an improvised explosive device that was planted in the roadway. Before that one that had injured me and caused me to have to leave, I had drove over like 3 others, and they were all very close calls. Luckily, nobody was injured in them, and we were going down this street, and all I remember seeing was like a flash of light. It was just like a normal day. There was civilians around. They were engaged in commerce. People were just doing their thing like normal, and that's when it went off. And the doors to our vehicle blew off. That I do remember because I was able to get out right away. I don't remember opening the door. And after looking at a picture, I did see that the door had come off. And then I remember, again, I'm not sure, I think there was a firefight, like a small one that took place after that, right after the explosion went off. And then I had taken off running because I was on fire. And a couple of the Marines actually had to chase me down and throw me down, and they put me out and stuff like that, and then took my gear off and all that, got me to a safe place. And me and all the guys in my vehicle were loaded into the back of this truck, and they were just hauling you-know-what down the street to get us to the field hospital there in Fallujah. And they got us there, and then and it was a corpsman that was treating me the entire time. So a Navy corpsman, shout out to those guys. But once I got there, before I was even in the door, I was put to sleep. And I didn't wake up, like, it was 3 weeks later, and I was in San Antonio, Texas, in a burn center. And I think I remember being in Germany because I remember it was raining at one point, but I don't know if those were my hallucinations. Went to Germany, and then I think from there they flew us. And they have these big cargo planes that they've transformed into hospitals, big flying hospitals for critical patients like me. So I think that's what I was on. And that's what they flew me to Brooke Army Medical Center. Like 2 years, I was in and out of the hospital for 2 years during that period. So I got injured in October 2006 and was discharged in January of 2009. So I was pretty much And I had like over 70 surgeries and skin grafts mostly. Almost lost my lower left leg due to a MRSA infection, and had a lot of things pop up. But the staff down there is great. I'll never be able to thank those people enough because they're probably not stationed there anymore, but just the stuff those people dealt with every day. I mean, I was burned like 56% of my body with third-degree burns, so, and I wasn't even near the worst patient they had. I struggled a lot with it. My mom actually quit her job and came down. Obviously, when she got the news, she didn't get it from me. She got it from, somebody from the military had called her and told her what had happened, and I'm glad I wasn't there to tell her what had happened, because I knew she would have been fanatical, and I'm sure she was. And I never really asked her how she reacted to it, but I kind of knew. But yeah, she quit her job, came down, and stayed with me. They had a housing set up for us since I had a caretaker, so I wasn't staying in the barracks or anything. She was a registered nurse herself. She had been one for, she retired in 2022 or 2021, and had been doing it for 42 years by that point. So she knew I would need an advocate because of the severity of my medical, she wanted to make sure somebody was speaking for me. When I got discharged in 2009, I took a few months off and actually went to work part-time at a sporting goods store just to kind of get back into work, see how I adjusted to it. And I worked that job part-time for a couple of years. And during those couple of years, I was still going to a lot of appointments around here, or having to go back down to BAMC to get evaluations, for major things, or there was still some surgeries and stuff I'd have. So I stayed pretty busy, and really working part-time was about all I could do. So, and then in 2013, I went back to school and got a business degree, because when I had gotten out of the Marines in 2009, I had to resign my position at the police department. They'd actually held it for me for those couple years, and I had told them that I was not 100%, and then I wanted them to open it back up so that they could hire somebody. So, and they understood. My experience makes it a lot easier for them to want to talk to me, because I know veterans are, and I saw it while I was healing down in San Antonio. They really want to talk to people that understand what they're going through. Otherwise, they'll clam up. So when they come in, they're happy to talk to me. And a lot of times, one of the first questions I get is, were you in? So I'll get that. I'll tell them what I did, and then they'll, from that point, they want to talk to me. So, well, a lot of times I just sort of tell them about what I went through with my injury, and courage, sort of lending them the message about being courageous, being persistent. There's nothing that can keep you down. And I always tried to urge the kids to serve their country somehow. It doesn't have to be the military, but when they grow up, try and work in government or something. We really need people to do that. So it was a lot of messages. It wasn't just me talking about myself. So, and it was always an honor to do. It was usually like a Veterans Day or event or something like that. I definitely, some of the best people in that short time I was in, some of the best people I ever met were people in uniform, and they came from all over the world, well, all over the country. They were all different colors, religions, and that's the thing I like about the military, is that when you go in there, we all wear the same uniform. We're not anything else but the uniform we wear, and just I learned a lot from the people I served with, and they made me better. Even though I felt like I was a good person going in, a responsible person, somehow they made those qualities in me better. So I just wish I had more time with them. That's my only regret.